It was a lot of fun. Just to do
Yeah, and
something different.
you come out of it with something you made together, and you get to put it up in your home. And I'm already.
You actually put yours up. Ours is like stashed in the garage somewhere.
Oh no, I've gotten on a kick of like creating a list of chores for myself and executing them. So amazingly enough, things aren't sitting around my house for like 2 years waiting to get done.
Yeah, well, this isn't me like procrastinating. It's her not wanting them hung up in our house.
But you've got an office. Just put them up in there.
Yeah, there's like no room in this office for anything.
Yeah, no, that's. I'm sure that's what that is.
I'm in a shoebox of a closet as my office.
You have a bigger office. You just choose not to give it any love. You have a nice big office like a CEO should have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not gonna be there in a couple of months, so.
No, that's your choice, not mine. I'll tell you. All right. So if you are watching us again, we apologize. OBS has been crashing on me. I spent like a couple hours reconfiguring all our scenes on OBS, and ever since then, OBS just keeps crashing. I think it has something to do with the latest update to macOS. I don't think it has anything to do with the scenes, but yeah. So we're back. We're back on Ecamm. Old faithful Ecamm. Even though I spent a significant amount of time making pretty scenes in OBS, it's fine.
I know. Now I need to take that. I have to take that opening back if we're not gonna be using OBS.
Oh no, yeah, no. The opening that's our new standard. I think we just established our openings now, so that's good. Gotta get a little
I don't know why.
insight
Just before the show, I had tag team stuck in my head, and
Tag
that game
team.
makes it a little bit.
One of the things I like about you, John, you're the old school. You like the old school rap. I do enjoy that. So it's
Yeah.
always fun.
My wife laughs at me because this past weekend we did a little long weekend. We went up to Big Bear, and we're driving up the mountain, listening to '90s on 9 on Sirius. And she took a picture. I forget what we were listening to. She took a picture and sent it to her friends that were following us up there. And it's like, look what he's making me listen to, and they were excited about it.
That's right. Your husband's got some taste, man.
Yeah, she's doing blackmail all wrong.
Got to teach her a little something there.
Yeah.
So how's
Hey, you guys,
everybody's week?
do you guys have a Samsung phone?
Nope.
No
No?
pixels.
I do. And mine was super easy to find because I got a Find My Phone message from Samsung official. Have you guys heard
All
about
right.
this?
No.
All of the new Samsung phones, like the S9, S10, every single one of them got a little pop-up that said Find My Phone and the number 1. And when you tapped on it, it just did nothing. It went away, and there's no app called Find My Phone. It just did that.
Really?
And and Samsung came out and said, "Whoops, we were testing something and it went to production."
Happens everywhere.
Fun.
There you go. Happens to the best of us, apparently. Somebody
Yeah.
needs.
So I'm sending you a screenshot of what my wife took in the car on the way up there.
Tootsie
Little
Roll?
69 boys Tootsie Roll.
Oh yeah.
Is she trying to embarrass you by showing how cool you are?
Oh, fun. All right.
Had that been
You
on
guys know.
OBS, I could have shared that because I had a screen for that. But nope. Whatever. How was everybody's week?
I can tell you.
Tell us.
I had my interview on Friday,
Kooky.
and I think it went really well. It was a good interpersonal communication project for me, and I had pages and pages of notes to go over, and lots of interesting information came out of it.
Good.
So, yeah, I believe I was a very active interviewee. Not one of those people that just waits for a question to be asked
Cool.
and stares blank at the screen.
So when do you start?
It's going to be a lengthy process. It's a very key role for the company, and they're having me do a coding test. And I believe there's at least another round of interviews with people. And
Do you know how many people they have in their queue?
I don't. I think that's one of those things you don't ask. It's like, how impressive do I have to be?
I think
Is it a queue? Like, do I have the job and you're just making me jump through hoops?
Right. Is this a circus act? Am I being circus trained?
I think it's a fair question to ask. It's like, hey, well, what's the running look like for this position? Just, I don't know. I would ask.
Aside from that,
ask.
It's been an interesting growth experience for me because I've realized that when my kids were younger, I really settled my life towards them, focusing on their needs, spending my time paying attention to them and doing the things that they need and that I need from them and all that stuff. And now that they're 17 and 16 and 16, they can get the hell out of my house. I need to get back to work.
Yeah, no, it doesn't happen that quickly. I got news for you, but go on. Keep with your fantasy.
Well, it's at least time for me to start focusing on my career again and what my next goal is for employment. And am I going to be a senior developer forever at the rate that I'm at, or am I going to actually progress somewhere? And I've been doing a lot of thinking about my direction and my education. I've bought some Udemy courses for project management and architecture, and
Udemy is my new addiction. I wait for courses to go on sale on Udemy now, because they always go on like 90% sale, and then I start like swooping in, buying them up like they're like stock tickets or something.
This was the interesting thing. I bought a course. I looked at it. It was 95% on sale.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like $8 or something. And I went into the course to preview it to make sure that I could understand what the guy was saying and how many hours of course there was and how much course work there was to make sure it was a realistic purchase. Came back 85% on sale.
You gotta act quick, man. Yeah, you gotta act quick.
Well, but I recall specifically that it said that the 95% sale price was locked in for 24 hours. But when I went back to it, it was a different sale price.
Yeah, they didn't tell you when the 24 hours started, though. It started like 8 hours before you looked at it the first time.
Well, yeah, I skipped the Udemy course on the theory of relativity, so I couldn't actually know what 24 hours is.
That's it. You got to get the course on time zones, man. That's the whole course you got to watch.
So I ended up buying it at $20 instead of $8 or whatever it was going to be.
Yeah.
But still, I think it's one of those things where it's whether or not I get this position, I'm now putting myself out there for this type of position.
You've kind of accepted the fact that you are interested in furthering your career. So now you've got I get that. I understand what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah. Cool, man.
So that's been my week. I've been working on a lot of self-teaching and a lot of research and social media maintenance, realizing that I have to update my social media profiles to be relevant.
Every now and then, yeah.
Don't point to dead domain names for projects from 2 years ago.
Probably a good idea.
So I had a good week. I asked John to take a look at my code and how to best test it. He's like, "You can't test this shit. This is horrible." So I spent the day refactoring code again. No, I tell you,
what you came up with?
Huh?
You never did show me what you came up with.
Oh, I'll show it to you. Yeah, I basically did what we did. I moved everything into a service and created an interface, and yeah, I basically did everything we talked about. I think I'll show it to you. But I do see what makes it so much more. I mean, even as I'm doing it, like we were talking. So in reality, I taken on a refactoring project of a small application we had that just needed some modification to encrypt at rest some information. So it ended up being a little bit more work than I had planned, but it was fine because I love coding. So I spent some time coding it, but I very much fell into the pattern of I'm just going to quickly try to get this out, and I I knew I was going to have to refactor it again in the very near future, and so I wanted to make my code, my refactor, testable, and very much showed it to John, and John was like, "Yeah, this is going to be hard to test. What what you need to do is you need to abstract this away and change this." And it was all. I do love code reviews, and I do love pair programming because of that. Because it really it did have me do a reset, and even just coding today, I'm just like, wow, this is going to be so much easier to test. Because I'd asked John how to test it because I had refactored it, and I'm like, well, shit, how do I write a test for this? Because it's all I don't understand where to test or how to test. And then just talking to John about it, it was like, oh, and after I did my refactor, I'm like, okay, now I've got everything as a service. Now everything's each service is testable on its own. I don't have to go through the interface, and it was a lot better. So I appreciate that, John.
Yeah, cool. That's the hell I've been in for the past few weeks is learning.
Having to work with Eric?
No. I've been writing my own code and having it code reviewed by somebody else who I've mentioned on this show lots of times, but I'm not going to do it today because Eric will kill me.
He gets too much free press.
Yeah. Tim doesn't need that kind of press. Anyway, he's been reviewing a lot of my code, and it's like, I have the code, it works. And he's like, but you should do this, and this, and that, and this, that. I'm like, come on, it works. Just let me go. And what ultimately ends up happening is the code I'm writing is testable itself to a point. There are definitely things to make it better. But when you go one step past that of code that's going to use this code, how testable is that going to be? And that's the trap I kept falling into lately. Like, oh, that makes sense. If I change this just a little bit, it'll make testing down the road a lot easier.
Yeah.
But it's that separation of concerns. It's breaking classes down to those small pieces that I find tricky at times. Mm-hmm. It's like I have a class that takes in some data, encrypts it, and returns a string. It seems so simple, so I put it in one class. And he's like, well, you might want to have a value object over here that just contains the data, and another class that creates the string you want it to, and why? Until we start talking it through, and it's like, okay,
yeah,
now it's more sense.
I mean, I feel like that's similar to this coding test that I'm doing right now, which is it's tricky.
Mm-hmm. Architecture itself is hard.
It is, and I want to flex my architecture skills here, so it's not. I'm not taking the easy answer. I'm definitely working the whole thing.
Are you including tests?
I intend to.
No, I wasn't until you just brought that up.
No, I have a tests directory. It's just empty.
Well, they're all passing. That's the good thing.
Yeah, that is true.
So if you do TDD, you don't have to worry about it. The tests are already there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm not gonna do that.
So Thomas.
Well, I was, but I ran into some organizational issues earlier on that made my TDDs not time efficient.
What do you mean?
Yes, Eric.
No, hold on. Now you got me confused. How could TDD not be time efficient if the whole idea is you're doing your T before you do any DD?
Because my initial idea of what the structure of it would look like was flawed. So the tests that I wrote were useless.
All right.
Then he gave up, and then he gave up on the whole TDD part and just like, I'm just going to code until I get something I want.
I'm prioritizing time and effort over 100% proper coding.
Well, it's not necessarily proper, but
It's the triangle. It's the fire triangle.
just leave me alone.
Goodness. So, Thomas, you'd mentioned when we were talking a few weeks ago about Livewire and that whole ZTTP that that Taylor had dropped a little bit of a hint that maybe he'd be pulling ZTTP into Laravel. And this week, he basically sent out a tweet. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Eric Burns actually sent out a tweet that said he saw the pull request that does this. You'll be happy to know, John, that it won't be ZTTP. He does have it as HTTP in the pull request. But yeah, it looks like that ZTTP package is going to get pulled in and just be a base package for Laravel, which is great because Laravel already included Guzzle as one of its dependencies. So the fact that it's pulling in this abstracted layered even to Guzzle is nice.
Yeah. Well, it's not just Guzzle. It's the PSR 11 Guzzle, which I'm not sure if you've used a lot, but it's not fun.
No, I probably haven't used it at all. So yeah, it does look like that's happening, and that's exciting, man. So now you'll just they showed some code samples and looked very clean. It was like an HTTP : get URL, and it had some following stuff you could throw into it depending on if you needed to pass headers and things, but definitely makes it cleaner.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see the ZTTP project actually get some more development in it because of this. Get a little more feature rich.
Well, it's one of those things that I don't want to do too much more. I mean, I like it being like let this be the very basic client, and if I want more, then I'll go back to Guzzle. You know what I mean? It's like let this be the simple curl command that I need to quickly grab a URL or something in my application. But if I need to do something super sick stupid, then I still have Guzzle available to me. It's still in the framework, so I can still call that as well. Basically, I'm saying I don't want it to have too many bells and whistles. I like it simple. Just keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but as soon as I start adding all those bells and whistles, it basically becomes Guzzle at that point.
Right. I'd love to see, like I said, I'm curious about what the relationship with Livewire and Laravel is going to be. I'm hyping it up in my head. Like in my head, I see Livewire going down the same path, just because it would be such a unique position for the Laravel framework over any other framework to have this Livewire pattern. But I don't necessarily know that's what's going to happen. I mentioned last week that Caleb said that, he alluded to the fact that Taylor was looking to make it more of a first-class citizen. I wasn't sure what all that meant, but I guess we'll find out next week at Laracon Online, which I'm still looking for a hotel to stay in for that. I'm thinking I'll stay in a hotel for like a day or two for Laracon Online, I don't know.
You just went out of your house that badly?
just, it's a conference, and, I just tell the wife I have a conference to go to. She just assumes I'm leaving the house for a couple days. Might as well just take advantage of it.
Yeah. It was her idea.
So Laracon online next week. Anybody interested? Anybody excited?
Yeah, I'm interested. I don't know about excited.
You got a ticket, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotta ask.
I've been busy, man.
I think we have a bunch of developers coming up to the office to watch it.
Well, I'll just fly on over then.
We have tickets to spare. I think we bought all the developers their own, and then of course you could, if you're going to do a viewing party, they gave you like a special rate or something. Or I think they even started selling them. I think they even started selling bundle packs. I'm not sure, but all after we bought ours.
Of course. Speaking of conferences, we have tech coming up soon as well, which we have airline tickets for. Did you see my forwarded email today?
Yes, I did. I was already grumpy about it. Then they changed it.
They changed the times of our flights.
John is typically in charge of our travel because he has the family, so he has a lot of equation he has to figure it in traveling. I don't. I'm pretty open. It's like, yeah, let's go and come back. And he had it so they were coming back pretty early in the morning. I was griping at him. I'm like, Jesus, why bother even staying the night, And I got an email from him saying, oh yeah, your airline has changed your flight. I'm like, God, please tell me it's later because it can't be earlier. Turns out it can be.
Originally, it was leaving at 6 a.m. to get on a Saturday to get back here 9:30. Get back. Wife will have had the kids for 5 days at that point, so I wanted to be back early enough. Yeah, and get an email. Yeah, it's now 5:20. Not just a little bit earlier.
That's our flight. Like, I didn't even know flights took off that early. I thought like there was like some rule like flights couldn't take off before 6 a.m. No, our flight's at 5:20. That means we got to be there at like 5 o'clock in the morning. No, we got to be there earlier than that.
You got to be there at like 4:30.
Oh, holy crap, man! I'm not sleeping. I'm just staying up all night Friday night. Just sit there.
See, that's how it always starts.
Except for the fact it's not a direct flight. You have to freaking get up for a layover. You can't just sleep through.
Yeah, that sucks too, right? I mean, you don't have a lot of control over that, but yeah, that does suck. You're getting up super early just to hit a layover.
Oh.
It's only from Nashville too.
Could just fly back separate. You can go later.
Don't tempt me, man. At 5:20 in the morning, I just might take you up on that.
I'm sure there's got to be some sort of clause in that, right? Like, we booked it at 6 a.m. They changed it. They got to give us a chance to change the flight for free.
You would think, right? I don't know.
Yeah, you know how flexible airlines are.
Exactly. They're so accommodating.
Yeah.
So did you see this this article I posted up here about how Apple Watch beat the Swiss watch industry in sales in 2019? The entire Swiss watch industry. Apple Watch sold more than they did.
I am not surprising.
I am. I'm totally surprised by that.
Yeah, but
I mean,
Swiss watches are luxury goods. The people who are buying a $500 wristwatch are a much smaller group than the people who are buying a $500 wrist smartphone.
That's true.
I mean, they call it an Apple Watch. They call it an Apple Watch, but it isn't a watch. It's a smartphone that you put on your wrist. And that industry has a lot more takers than, Swiss movement watches.
Mm. Yeah. And the thing about it is Swiss watches are probably it's probably a better $500 spend than an Apple Watch, which the company itself will make obsolete in about a year. Like, just to get you to buy the next $500 watch.
Yeah.
Like
It'll
the
retain value better, sure.
the $500 Swiss watch you buy will still be a $500 Swiss watch 20 years from now. The $500 Apple Watch you buy won't be a $500 anything in a year or two.
It won't be a $100 anything in a couple of years.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, but it isn't just a watch. It's got the heart rate monitor, so all the people who do exercise want one. It's got GPS. It can do phone calls directly from the watch and voice assistant and media player controls, and it's so many things that people had separately before.
I gotta be honest with you. I have watches, smart watches. I live in the Android world, so all mine are Android or Google smart watches, and I have the Google smartphone and all that. But I gotta be honest with you. I'm the watch. I'm a big watch guy. I like watches. That's one of the reasons why I gravitated to this pretty quickly. And I don't know. I don't get a lot out of my watch. I still wear it every day, but I don't really go for it for hardly anything. The heartbeat thing is a nice to have, and when we work out, I even have a different watch for when, like, John and I play racquetball. I have one specifically for that. It can take a little bit better beating, but like, just for, like, I don't use it as much as I thought I was going to use it in my head. Like, for media control and stuff, I still just automatically reach for my phone to do all that stuff.
Well, that's where the Apple ecosystem is really well polished. I mean, you have to give it to them that they've built such a beautiful synchronicity between everything, where the iPods or the AirPods, you just tap the case on your iPhone and that syncs them together, and then it has a way of measuring your hands near your head so that you can do media controls by gesturing at your ears.
I didn't know that.
If you take one out, it will turn it off. It'll pause the music so you can, like, listen to somebody or something, and the watch communicates through the AirPods and through the phone, and it has its own SIM card in it, so it can actually make calls without a phone. And it's a very well-designed watch. Now, I have a $50 smartwatch, and I wouldn't trade it for anything because it's got a 45-day battery life.
Yeah.
It gives me all the functionality that I want, and I don't have to charge it every single night.
Yeah. I charge mine every night, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I still, like I said, I mean, mine pretty much works that same way. It has all the interfaces to the phone. I don't use it. I thought, even for, like, the Google Pay stuff, I thought I would use it, but I found my, turning my wrist was feeling awkward when I had my phone right there. It was just as easy to boom boom and throw it on there. I don't know. I think this is probably the last smartwatch I'll have for a while, because I think, if I were to get another watch, I'd go back to a traditional watch, because it's just as nice. It's, like you said, it actually holds value and something you can pass down to family.
You're also an adult. I can tell you 50% of the kids at my kids' high school have Apple Watches.
Which is crazy if you think about it, right? Because,
Stupid.
I mean, you wouldn't see them walking around with a $200, $300, $400 any other watch.
Nope.
Yeah.
I mean, my high school was different. It was for troubled children and rich children, but.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mobile Code Media, what do you guys think about the latest Laravel release? Yeah, it's fine. I mean, nothing stood out. I think everybody's waiting for 7 to happen.
I don't think I'm on it.
I just spun up a new app, but yeah.
Is
I mean,
Laravel? I just got one of those bump PRs from whatever that service is for bumping Laravel's
Dependabot?
version. Yeah, Dependabot. Is upgrading Laravel that easy, or do you still have to go through something like Laravel Shift?
if it's Simver now, so I mean, if you're staying within the 6, I just do a composer upgrade, and it just goes through and does it. If I'm jumping from, if you're still on 5 something and you need to jump to 6, because 6 is so far along, it probably makes sense to go through Shift.
Yeah,
Uh,
that jump. I made that jump. It was awful.
This
yeah,
is actually 5.72 5.837.
yeah. So that, I mean, again, that was all before he was doing Simver, right? He started Simver in 6, so I
I don't
wouldn't.
think that has. I don't think that's done a whole lot for updates though,
Yeah,
because
you would
I've
need to
seen
go.
some
You would need to
pretty.
go through and look at the releases. If you're just trying to bump it through the 5s, you would have to go back and look through the releases. You'd
Yeah,
you'd,
that's true.
you'd probably be okay, but I don't know. It's tough to. I don't remember what all came out in 5 and when it came out.
Well, I will be writing an article on the Laravel approach to Semver soon, so I'll have to tweet that out to everybody
Writing an article for writing an article to who? For who? For what?
for my new website that I'm building.
Listen, look at you, big boy. You're gonna be blogging and
Told
all
you,
that, huh?
career man. I've got lists.
Don't throw your career down the toilet like I did by calling out Laravel Semver issues.
Oh
Yeah, boy,
yeah.
you got called out hard.
No, he did. So the person who included his tweet, which it was an older tweet, she had a legitimate question. Her question was, and she referenced a tweet that John had sent out, was, "Are you bumping
To
it
Taylor.
right?" And the question was basically, are you bumping this to 7 just to bump to 7, or is there a backwards breaking change? And that was the question. And I don't think he got called out in a negative way or anything. It's just she just referenced your tweet and said, "Hey, listen, he has a point here. Is there actually going to be a backwards breaking change here? Or are you just wanting a new version release?"
I I don't. It wasn't an intentional calling out or an aggressive behavior, but it was an old tweet being dug up and then shoved in front of the creator's face. Like it was.
Well, it's good though, because then he knows that there are other people than just there are other people who can be critical, critical minded in thinking through this stuff, and not just the ones who hang on his every word and does whatever he asks. There there are people in this industry who are making a living off it, and this sort of information is important to us. We want to know because of the history. It's like, listen, this we understand you said you're on Simver, but do you understand what that means? Like, you're saying you're going to 7, so that you're telling us now you're going to 7 because there's going to be a backwards breaking change. I just want to make sure you're clear on that. I thought it was a reasonable question. I don't know.
I don't disagree. It's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah,
Just didn't have to drag John into it.
I thought John was the perfect person to drag into it.
Uh,
Just because I don't care about anything.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like, yeah,
Yeah, use me, abuse me. It's okay.
just
I'm
don't
good with
bruise
it.
me. Yeah.
What are you gonna say,
Where are you
Thomas?
going, Thomas?
a few months ago, I was talking about taking a Windows machine and using WSL, the Windows subsystem for Linux, to shape it into a development system for myself. And because of how I want to organize my workspace right now, I'm being forced to finish that task.
Okay.
and it is a little rough. Although I can say definitively, I got it working.
Well, that's good.
There are so many caveats to Vagrant on WSL, so many rules that you have to follow. It is so impossible to track. But I spent 2 days trying to get everything working until I finally got it working. And then my immediate next step was to destroy the whole image and make sure that I knew the steps well enough to do it again if I needed to. Quickly.
Mm.
So the second iteration did take me 5 hours to get the Vagrant to boot up. But the third iteration,
Well,
I was able to do it in
5 hours?
Yeah.
Good God, man.
Is this the second article for your new website?
I was considering it, but the
This
reason
would be
that
a
I
much
don't
more important article than the.
well, the reason I don't want to do it though is because WSL is under so much development right now that these articles about how to do stuff in it are irrelevant a month or two after they're published. Like completely irrelevant. And I am restricted to Vagrant because that's what my company has quickly and easily deployable. But it looks like Docker is the way to go for this.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah. Docker's a no-brainer for this.
Right.
Vagrant,
think
it's weird that you say that. I've never. Well, Joe Ferguson would probably hate me for saying that, but I never envisioned Vagrant as something that's deployable.
Well, it's not deployable, but it's our Vagrant system is our replication of our production environment.
Okay.
So that's where we develop in a Vagrant box because of that. And I don't have a up-to-date Docker collection that is designed to do this. So my next step would be, move the Vagrant system over to Docker and update everything from there.
Mm-hmm.
But the good news is I learned how to quickly switch between versions of Node. I learned about when you can and can't switch between versions. I learned about things that you have to run on the WSL image and not inside Vagrant because Vagrant responds too quickly. So if you do npm install from in a Vagrant SSH session, it tries to write to the disk faster than Windows can read from it, and it locks itself out.
Mm.
It's stuff I've seen before. There's an Ubuntu file system from the 16.4 days that did that too.
Yeah.
But
and I mentioned Joe Ferguson because he does the Homestead version of which is a Vagrant box for
that's what this is.
It's Homestead.
Yeah, it's based
okay.
on Homestead.
Yeah. I was about to say you still might get some lessons learned from what he's doing in Homestead, but if it's based on Homestead, then never mind. But yeah, I tell you, once you go Docker, man, you don't go back to Vagrant.
No.
I
mean, people are Docker on production now, and
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
if I had said that a year ago, you would have called bullshit on it.
Right.
When we were talking about Docker when it started, we didn't think it was going to make it to production ready for 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy because what you mentioned with your Vagrant box, you're simulating what you have in production, right? You're simulating it. With Docker, there's no simulation. You're deploying those containers, and it's made such a difference for us. We're actually our oldest for one of our clients who has a really old legacy system. We're pushing him to Docker, and we just made a big step in that direction last week, I think it was, where we actually moved their big money making application over to Docker in every environment but production. So every environment right now but the production environment is running their version of their platform on Docker containers. And the idea is, to just kind of look for problems, look for issues, and then eventually we're going to cut the production environment over to it. And
That's so nice.
it's, oh man, I can't even begin to tell you how nice it is. It's just been wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And just moving forward, just keeping things like PHP up to date and Nginx and all these, everything that's a separate container is like, you want to update it, well, you just replace that container and update it. And if it doesn't work, then you put the old container back. There's no more of this fear of, apply the update. If the update doesn't work, then, uninstall the update and install the old version. It's great.
Now, do you put your source in one of the containers, or do you have your source separate from the containers?
The source is separate. So typically what we do now is the project is its repo. So we'll have a new Laravel repo. And then within that project, we have our Docker configuration, and we have a Docker folder that does all of our builds. But the source code is always referenced outside the container, so it's never a part of any of the containers.
And are you using Docker Compose?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that. I need to grab a book or something on Docker Compose and really become an expert on that.
I noticed with Docker, maybe you and I should talk, because it almost behooves you not to do that, because like all the websites and tutorials get really technical with Docker, and they really kind of push you down the advanced path quickly, where it's like so much of it is simple. It's like, oh, you want a PHP container? Then write these 2 lines of code, do a Docker Compose up, and you have a PHP container. I actually have a directory now of just containers like Elasticsearch, Mailhog, all these services that I'll use, onesie twosies, that I'll just spin up that one container for a couple days because I'm working on a project that requires Elasticsearch. It won't be part of that actual project because that project isn't using Docker or something, for example. But that's becoming less and less of a thing now as well, because we're working on a project now where the deployment is going to be on hardware, not our call. That's what the client wanted, but still, so that all of our developers are working in sync together, we still basically create a Docker environment for it. So if the client wanted to, they could actually deploy it on Docker, but they don't want to. They want to take advantage of like services that we don't have as Docker. But I'm fewer and fewer projects that I start now don't have just some basic Docker configuration attached to it, just because it's so easy. It's just so stinking easy to do.
Well, and you can include the whole environment as part of the Git repo.
Exactly. Yeah. The only caveat I've come up with Docker, like the one place I don't use it as much as I probably should, is with MySQL. And again, that's laziness on my part, because I like having, I still have like the valet set up in my environment. So like if I'm doing a bunch of quick coding, because I'm in a position where I'm jumping in and out of projects all the time. I don't spend a lot of time in one project because we have developers who are working on projects. So I'll go into a project, pull it on the latest, and see how the code's doing. So I'm still very lazy in the fact that I don't want to just start spinning up Docker containers for all these different projects. I'll just depend on my valet and my system, MySQL, because I'll have all my databases in there, as opposed to spinning up my Docker environment for this project, and then I need to spin up Docker environment for a project I'm actually coding on, and now I have conflicting ports because they're both using MySQL, and I'm trying to do the 3306 forward on both of them. So I'm still kind of lazy on that piece of it, but
I would bet you there's a tool out there though that does auto port management for Docker projects like that.
it would be challenging. It would be challenging. I don't know how you do it. Mobile asked, are we using Docker deployments with Jenkins pipelines? We use it with AWS, so that's what we're using. I think a code deploy or code pipeline or something is what AWS has. So yeah, we're using it with the deployment system. It's the AWS deployment system. But I have talked to people who use it with Jenkins, and I'm not sure about pipelines, but yeah. So I actually went off on a tangent with Docker, though. I was going to say something to you, Thomas, that I thought you might be interested in. John and I actually looked into what it would take to create a Hackintosh. I thought,
why?
Just curiosity.
Okay, thank God. That's the only right answer.
Okay,
Wow.
so it's not because we have to give our employees laptops and we don't want to buy Apple.
Right. That's the wrong answer.
Why do you say that? You don't like the Hackintosh?
Apple invests a lot of effort in breaking the Hackintosh ecosystem with every release.
Oh, really?
The more effort than they spend breaking their own ecosystem with every release. By the way, how's Catalina working out for you?
Well, OBS doesn't like it.
Without any issue.
I've heard Catalina breaks Docker, but
no problem with Docker. Yeah, OBS doesn't like it.
A Hackintosh is a FreeBSD system that's not running FreeBSD. It's running a hacked together operating system that you don't want or need. I mean, the weakest part of Apple's $50,000 systems is the operating system that comes with it. Why would you want to put that on any system that you buy? I got this laptop. The reason I'm dealing with WSL on this laptop is because it didn't play well with Ubuntu. I had a handful of problems that were just annoying the crap out of me, and I didn't want to deal with them anymore. But the lesson I learned from that was don't buy this brand anymore, not don't go with Linux. It's just get ThinkPads from now on. ThinkPads work perfectly with Linux. The end. They're great, strong systems. So Hackintoshes are just they're a matter of curiosity.
Well, the funny thing about it, the thing I called out to John is like the thing that took us down the road is an article that said, "Hey, this particular laptop is the perfect laptop for a Hackintosh." So it was not only was it a Hackintosh, but it was a laptop Hackintosh. Ugh. And ultimately, it's like, I ended up telling John, it is running Windows, so it's like it does have an operating system on it. It's not like we have to go the Hackintosh route there.
Well, and the name now, Hackintosh used to mean one thing. It should just be Klugentosh now, because it's not a well-functioning system that you get out of it.
Really, I've never played with it. I did get my here. Check it out. I did get my Pi 4 in, and I even got the took your advice and got some fans
the case
on
with
it.
The fans and stuff. Yeah.
That's actually not even a case. I can't even put it in the case because this ended up taking up so much space. But
it's like a little heat sink sandwich.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. I got this because I wanted to play with an idea that John pointed me to as far as using this in conjunction with an iPad, but I haven't been able to get it to. I don't know. I don't know if it's my connection because it has this micro HDMI So
Yep.
that's the HDMI, the micro one.
Yep.
And I bought a little cheap connection from Amazon, and no matter what monitor I plug it into, it's not booting. It's not showing me
What
anything.
what are you booting it up to? What
Just
OS are you putting on it?
the Pi, the Raspberry Pi one. So
And can you SSH into it?
no, I can't even get the initial boot to happen so I can get it configured.
So it sounds like your SD card is not getting recognized. Or
Well,
are you using a good enough power supply? Because it wants to draw a good amount of power.
yeah, I'm definitely using a good power supply, and I don't think I think one of my SD cards were bad because only one light was on, but the card I have in here now, you get the two lights, including the one blinking light. So I think the card's okay. I think it's just my HDMI connection. I don't know.
Well, but it boots headless. You don't need an HDMI connection to it. So if you just plug it in and turn it on, you should be able to SSH into it from another system.
How would I SSH to it? I need to configure the wireless.
You configure the wireless in the SD card. On the SD card, there's a wireless config file that you edit with all of your wireless settings.
The SD card is not readable from Mac. It's Linux.
Then you've done something wrong.
Your mother did something wrong. Had you as a
their
baby.
SD card should be FAT32. It should 100% be readable.
All right. Maybe I did do something wrong then. I'll take a look at that. I'll take a look at the headless boot as well. Maybe I did something wrong. I won't question you quite yet, but I don't totally believe you. But along
That's how
the same
I configured
lines,
mine. I did the whole thing offline.
Really?
Yeah, I did the whole thing headless. In fact, I don't even have an HDMI cable for it. I'm getting it tomorrow.
Because that's actually what I want. I kind of wanted it headless. I mean, I don't want it hooked up to a monitor. That's how this whole thing works.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out. I'll check that out. Maybe I'll report back to you next week. I have another card here I think you can use too. So I thought maybe my card was too big because when I went to flash the maybe it is. When I used the application to flash the OS, it said, "Hey, it says your card has 128 gig. That's a little large for a SD card. Are you sure that's where you want to flash it to?" I'm like, "Yeah, no, it's a 128 gig SD card." And
yeah, that's a FAT32 thing because FAT32 tops out at 64 gigs, I think.
So I have a 64
Whereas
gig too.
There's an advanced FAT32 that tops out at higher than that.
Maybe that's the problem. Maybe my card is too big. I don't know.
Well, but you can still format it to be a 64.
I'll play around with it a little bit.
I have a 64 in mind.
But along with those same lines, another remote development solution I've been waiting for has been this Visual Studio Online, and I actually watched a video of it today, and it's not going to be as cool as I thought it was going to be. I don't know if this is the official product, but Microsoft. I mean, this was a Microsoft YouTube channel, and it only talks about Visual Studio Code. And this was for their Visual Studio Online, which I had been waiting for, and I had envisioned it to be you log in, and you basically have Visual Studio Code there, and you can create projects in it and stuff. And it's not exactly like that. As a matter of fact, we had shared a while back how you could run Visual Studio Code yourself on a server, and I did that, and it's actually very easy to do. It's not hard at all. It's not illegal. It's one of the solutions that they offer. So I ran on a server, but I'm like, well, this is only good for a 1-to-1. It's not I'd have to run each version of Visual Studio Code on a different port and assign that port to a developer. It wasn't as nice of an interface as I thought it would be. Well, it turns out that the Visual Studio Code Online is kind of the same way. You have to have a what's the Microsoft Cloud, Azure Azure, is that the
Yes.
Microsoft Cloud? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
You have to have like an Azure account, and it just basically spins up virtual servers and deploys this implementation of Visual Studio Code to that server. It basically, you configure the server to be a project, and it's all nice and everything, but still, it's like a one-to-one. Like, if you have 5 projects, then I guess you need 5 servers. I don't know. It wasn't as cool as I thought it would be. I thought it would just be a service that they offered that you log in and you have Visual Studio Code there for you, but it doesn't appear to be that way. I'll include the video in the show notes for anybody interested. Maybe I missed something, or maybe this is just one iteration of it, but yeah, it's not. I still want it, and I will probably go back to the version I have running on my server for using it with my iPad, because I still think it's a very real solution. But it's and they do address a lot of the questions I had as far as like how do you do debugging, because they do have the functionality of using debugging, and he walks through it, how you do it. It's not as clean as you think it would be. Basically it does debugging to localhost, but the localhost is a server. So now you have to get that server's IP address. It basically generates a URL for you to hit that server, and it's kind of it's kind of clumsy, I think. But I see that they clearly had real obstacles in their way trying to get this to do everything it needed to do. So I don't blame them for it. It's just not as clean of implementation as I would like to have seen it.
Mm. Well, John looks extremely tired, and you know what that means.
I tell you, man, I'm like, John, calm down, man. You come in here rapping all hard, and you just keep going.
You guys are talking about stuff I have no clue about. I've never owned a Pi. Don't want to own a Pi. Don't care about.
Don't even Pi.
Just the 7 IoT cameras that are pointing to his children in their room.
Yep.
So they don't steal money from him.
I did drop it by one so I can move one into their playroom.
So I want to end it on not doom and gloom, on smiles and sunshine.
Yay!
Ring lately has been in the news because they sucked.
Sounds very doom and gloomy.
Yeah, it was bad. People were eavesdropping on other people's children and yelling at them that Santa wasn't real, which is generally not good.
But didn't we discuss that? It was the fact that their accounts were being broken into. It wasn't a flaw with the camera itself, right?
It was a flaw with their authentication in general.
In what way?
They weren't properly securing accounts. So that's what the news is today, is that Ring is requiring 2-factor authentication for all of their logins. So,
but that's how they weren't protecting their accounts. Was it because they didn't offer 2-factor?
I'm not sure if they offered it or not, but now it's going to be required.
Which means now my wife's not going to use it.
But going back to the original issue, it wasn't a Ring camera specific issue. It wasn't like people were breaking into the camera. People were finding your username and password and logging into your account.
Yes. So you can't do that anymore.
Right.
Even if that's the case, you still can't do that. You have to have the 2FA authenticator still.
Right. It's just I asked because I've been telling people that when this was all going on, I was trying to explain. No, this isn't a problem with the cameras, and tell my wife the same thing. It's not an issue there. It's people using easy passwords or their email getting broken into, and then that being used to then get access. It wasn't a widespread all Ring cameras were all of a sudden vulnerable.
Right, but it was Ring that had accidentally exposed login credentials of 3,000 users. And
Oh, I didn't hear that part. That's a little
yeah,
different.
so they had a series of data leaks that pushed them to this point. They had a compromise that left 3,000 users logins available, a data breach that resulted in 1,500 Ring users' passwords being leaked, stuff like that. So the two-factor part takes the liability away from Ring for the login and password combinations being able to get into the system. Or at least a little bit of the liability. And generally, two-factor is better.
And like I said, and now my wife won't use it. My wife hates two-factor. First thing, she hates my complex passwords. And I'm like, yeah, that's my life now. There's no way around it. And then when I add two-factor to it, it's like I add two-factor. She's like, this is why do you do this? This is so you can't even use these accounts. I'm like, yeah, that's the point. Nobody can use the account but me. That's the whole reason for the two-factor.
Well, and Gmail, when I get a notification on Gmail for two-factor emails that I've received, most of the time it'll have an option to copy the code for two-factor instead of having to open and read the email. So the Gmail on Android is learning how to parse two-factor emails so that it can just paste the code straight into the box that's open on your screen already.
So when you see the little preview, there's just like a copy code or something?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think I've noticed that. Although I usually get mine through SMS. So
SMS as well.
A 2FA application.
Yeah,
no,
2FA.
SMS and Gmail will both do that for me on some codes, not all of them.
I gotta look at that. I never look at my email for my two-factor. So.
Well, I was going to get into Twitter's new proposed way of resolving fake news, but it's really not that interesting.
Okay, well, let's save it for next week because I think we're good here. We've got a good show going here.
I still don't have Eric's dark mode Facebook.
Yeah, neither do I.
Very upset about that.
Let me see if I still have it. Let me see if I still have dark mode Facebook. I still have dark mode Facebook. I still have dark mode Facebook.
I'm going to try to go to new.facebook.com, see what that does.
As far as
nothing.
As far as I know, my account's been hacked, and it's just a fake Facebook. Like none of the articles are real. Just somebody's fucking with me here.
Well, yeah, and as far as they know, you're dead and you've never used Facebook.
Exactly. I mean, it's weird because like they're not asking me for any feedback or anything. I'm not. I guess my using it is the feedback.
yeah. You've happened upon the scary part about how they do research. They don't ask.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Facebook, dark mode Facebook for anybody interested. It's out. It's coming, or might be coming, might not be coming. I mean, if they keep deploying it to people like me, they might just say, "Yeah, no, nobody seems interested."
No one likes it.
They don't log in and use it at all. All right, I think that's it. This has been a good 179 on 02/20/2020, which I still think is just really cool. It's like binary, but not. It's like binary +1. It's like binary V2. Get it? Like instead of 01 to so. Okay, this is it. Episode 179.
Isn't that trinary?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. John, what just happened? You closed your browser? And John just screwed up the recording for everybody. So he's all the hard work that we were doing. Now Damn it, John! You had one thing to do, not close the browser. You closed the browser.
Yeah, it's a good thing we got that 45 minutes of silence, though.
Yeah. And at the end of the show, when he closes the browser, he decides to start talking. Bastard!
All right, John, what episode has this been?
What episode are you in?
179.
The first episode John's gonna have to edit.
I've got dark mode now on Facebook.
Do you really?
There's some sort of Chrome forced dark mode for web contents.
Oh,
So
you got a Chrome plugin?
And it said, no, it's part of Chrome. It's Chrome flags and enable forced dark.
Uh-huh.
And then it said, oh, relaunch Chrome. I'm like, okay, relaunch. It not only did it stop Zencaster, but I have other windows with YouTube videos that were open, so they're all start playing at the same time. I'm like,
Damn, you think Zencaster would have popped up some sort of notification of, hey, you're recording here, don't close me. Are you sure you want me closed because you're still recording? Oh, well, guess not.
That didn't do that.
We missed some chats. Sorry, chat. Who else? First time catching the live stream. Thanks, Mobile Code Media. Appreciate you joining us. And two-factor authentication is part of their Gmail Actions. Gmail Actions, Daryl. What is a Gmail Action? Oh, nice. All right.
While Eric's searching that up, thank you to all of our Patreons.
Of course, yes. Thanks for all our Patreons. Which I had a nice new Patreon page up, but, OBS decided to not work, so sorry about that. And sorry for John for seeing how this stream gets edited together. It'll be interesting.
It will be. It'll be in a couple months. You'll see.
Oh, you're running on my timeline.
Episode 179 is in the book. I'm Eric Van Johnson.
I'm John Congdon.
I'm Tom Rideout.
Keep it ugly.
Keep it ugly.
I can't believe I did that.
That's too funny.
I totally can't. That's hilarious.
I think I've done it before. So this is interesting. Okay, this is very interesting. Oh, we forgot to do our ending clap. We can do for our local recording. Is everybody still a local recording?
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not either.
I am.
I was too, but I was just...
The ending clap, the purpose of the ending clap was to see if Zencaster was still synced.
Yeah. So here's what's interesting.
Which it was not.
So it has that extra soundboard, which I told you about last week, Thomas. But when you go to Zencaster has an extra sound bit now, and because it's guaranteed to eliminate drift now. Well, I'm not guaranteed. I'm still streaming, so don't
they
ever.
They fixed the bug.
Yeah, supposedly it doesn't drift anymore. I noticed that there's another recording called Soundboard, but when I went to edit last weekend, the soundboard file is nothing. It's just a blank file. But today, now there's two Johns, but one John is 0 minutes 0 seconds. The other John is 1 minute 4 seconds.
Back at the very end.
So it didn't get you for the whole hour is gone. It didn't capture that.
Did you, John, when you started Zencaster, did you get the persistent storage warning?
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, that would be why. If local storage isn't persistent, then you lose it if you drop.
Really? Well, how's he supposed to change that? Well, you have that.
Oddly enough, the same Chrome flag page that he was on that caused the problem.
Really?
I'm sure it's a Chrome flag.
Remedy and Chrome from It does say this.
I've
you
added
have
it
to
to my
bookmark
page.
bookmark
I've
the site.
That doesn't help.
Oh no, okay. High engagement, added to home screen, or enabled push notifications. Why didn't it ask for push notifications then? Did I have that disabled? Oh, I do. Blocked by default.
How do you add push notification?
The
I'm in
lock
Firefox.
icon.
Why don't you just go to Firefox? That's what I'm using it in. What's Firefox say? The user should be prompted to allow persistent storage when they first load. Yeah, I don't get the warning anymore, and I just realized I don't get it because I'm in Firefox, I guess. So yeah, I see Thomas in there now, and you didn't get the warning anymore.
Nope, I allowed persistent storage,
Yeah.
I guess.
How do you do that?
Click on the lock icon to the left of the URL.
Okay.
Microphone notification.
And
I don't see any persistent.
Notifications allow.
And we have microphone.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right. Next week we'll all use Firefox for a Zencaster, so that John can install plugins.
Did you go to? Wait, you went to. Click on that in settings, site settings.
It doesn't matter. You're good. I'm looking at you now. You don't have a warning on your stream.
Well, wow. What did I change?
I mean, I assume the default behavior of Firefox just allows it based on automatic post-production. What is this? What tracks do you want to... Oh, holy smokes, it has automatic post-production now. I wonder what this does.
Well, you're the ad. I don't think I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't see that.
Interesting. This is very interesting. I might have to try this next week when we all have a good recording. What are you putting your hand up for? Put your hand down.
Did you guys see what I pasted in the Slack channel?
No. I don't have Slack open. There it is.
Dude, this thing is cool as hell.
What's this?
It's a Bluetooth keyboard that works like KeyPass. It stores all of your passwords on it. And it's $15 for this programmable keychain with a screen and buttons.
Interesting.
It's so cool.
It's kind of like a YubiKey.
Yeah, John just got us those. They're nice.
What is that?
You just touch it.
Well, it's not Bluetooth.
So, this one you have to plug in. The YubiKey you have to plug in, though.
Right.
Yeah. You don't have to plug this in?
No, it's Bluetooth.
Oh, Bluetooth. Gotcha.
How does the YubiKey thing work, though? Does it require computation on the client computer?
Right. The whole idea is that it has to be physically attached to the machine. That's actually part of the security of it. And then it just does
the mobile one has NFC too.
Okay, but I'm explaining the YubiKey that John got us. It has to be physically plugged in, so you know it's plugged into the machine, and then you have to touch it. It's just like a fingerprint reader. I assume it's like a fingerprint reader, just But it's weird. It's not like a fingerprint like this. Like you barely tap it. Like you just come to the side.
It's just a conductive surface. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I don't think it's we should try that, John. We should have you touch my YubiKey.
Again?
I want you to touch my YubiKey and see if it lets you in. Yeah.
So it's interesting. It is hardware based, so it doesn't transmit the encrypted values.
Actually, I think that's the idea. Like it is just conductive because the idea is that when if I were to leave my laptop or something, I would take my YubiKey would be physically with me. So I don't know.
Interesting. How much is it though?
It was cheap.
$1,000.
That's not. Yeah, 50 to 60. Oh, there's a $20 one. Yeah, I think it's probably the same hardware stack inside it.
Yeah, it's kind of the only problem I have with this, I'm still too lazy to actually like when I'm like working from home. It's on my keychain because I figure my keychain is always with me. But of course, when I get prompted for it, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm not walking out to the living room to find my keys.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing is about this one though is the hardware is like you can get it for $10 to $15, and it's like a full computer stack. It's like a Pi Zero.
Oh, it does have NFC on it now. Does ours have NFC, John? I don't think it does.
I don't think so.
That's crazy. This is a YubiKey 5 series.
That's what we have.
It is?
Yeah.
Maybe it does have NFC. I don't know. It's showing three different types here.
We have the 5C.
5C.
Cancel whatever you're thinking you're hearing. You're not hearing it.
Yeah, no. You're right. No,
yes,
no.
we have the USB-C version. There is an NFC version.
Right, I see. Interesting.
All right, guys, that's it for me.
All right, you got editing duties?
Yeah, I guess I don't want to wait a couple months for John to get to it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have. Yeah, I'm heading out to John. I'm gonna head out to Arizona this weekend, so I'll probably leave around noon or 1 tomorrow after our meetings. So yeah, I just gotta get out and check on Mom. It's been a while. Oh, and yeah, let me stop streaming. Thanks everybody who's been watching.
Thank you, everybody.
All three of you, appreciate it.